Feeling like a failure and don't quite know what to do with yourself? Well, some good news. You've come to the damn right place. 'Cause we've both got a hell of a lot of experience with that lately. And it comes up a lot in life, so as always, we're going to delve into it and spitball back and forth. Like, we've both got different experiences with failure and different ideas around it. But it's important to sit down and think about your failures, not just why you failed, but what you can learn from them and turn those failures into wins. So, let's go get into this episode and turn some of these failures into wins. What's going on, beautiful people? This is the Perspective Chasers podcast. I'm your host, John.
And I'm Dave.
And we are talking about failure today. There is something that I feel like I've been in a rut of failure lately myself. And even thinking of this episode, I think I'm starting to get my head out of it, or at least out of the negative side of failure.
That's good.
Bro, obviously you're still in it, but like been in that PT world where we have to preach to people, no, failure is good. Mm-hmm. But that's so hard to do for yourself when you're like, no, it's my life. I don't want to be a failure. Like, freaking, my career ain't going right. My relationships ain't going right. Freaking whatever aspect of life ain't going right. And I just feel like a failure and I want to give up.
Yeah, I mean, it's a cruel irony because I always say to my clients that the gym is probably the only place where failure is actively acceptable or chased.
But that shouldn't be the case.
Yeah, I mean, there's normally a lot more consequences outside of the gym. That's the problem with it.
I hear that, but bro, like, if failure means growth, trying to start a business, okay, cool. The first business that you try to start, you're probably not going to succeed in. Does that mean you give up? No. You have to build up that resilience. You have to build up those life calluses. And unless you go through that kind of hardship and you go through that uncomfortable side of things, and again, it is uncomfortable. It's not freaking nice. But you don't give up on yourself. And sometimes you do have to be down and lick your wounds and take a breath or whatever else. Like, if you keep failing and you just jump straight back up and you fail again, and eventually you are going to get fatigued. Eventually, mentally, you're going to be like, fuck, I ain't getting a win.
Yeah.
But then, how much effort are you putting in? Whereas if you try to lift something that is too heavy for you or whatever, and you don't do it, and you're like, all right, cool. Do you remember the time that we was trying to do deadlifts or whatever, and we just kept trying to pull it? I think we had like 180 on the bar or whatever else. And we kept trying to pull it, and it just wouldn't come off the ground. I was like, no, we're going to try again. How many times, genuinely, like, even from a physical perspective, how many times can your nervous system take that freaking big of a jolt or that much effort? But we're doing that to life. If you try to start a new business every freaking week, how long before you're physically, emotionally, mentally bankrupt?
True.
So sometimes you need to do some supporting work. Sometimes, okay, cool, you might not have a good freaking relationship. You might be single as anything. You might be perpetually single like myself. But by keeping yourself, or trying to say like, I don't know, let's go to the extreme. Trying to freaking propose to a complete stranger or whatever else. Like, you are my one and da-da-da-da-da. How many times are you going to do that before you go, oh, well, the love of my life ain't out there? Unless you actually go like, and incrementally get to know a fair few different people and be like, oh no, this is my person.
How wild would it be if someone done that and the person said yes?
But it happens. Do you know what I mean? Like,
that would be wild.
Yeah. But bro, I mean, people have arranged marriages. I know it's a bit different, but friggin', bro, people marry somebody they've never known. And they, like, if within arranged marriages, as far as I understand it, like, you learn to love that person. But sometimes you've got to learn to love your damn self. You've got to learn to love the challenge.
Sorry, I'm just hung up on the idea of randomly going up to someone in the street and asking them to marry you and them saying yes.
Yeah. I mean, it would be a hell of a story, no?
Just a bit.
I mean, we don't live in Vegas, but it probably happens in Vegas a time or two.
I don't think there's any proposals, mate. I think it's just people smashed.
Bro, there has to be consent, though. But that's the thing, like, eventually, if you just keep trying and trying and trying, you are just going to exhaust yourself, mentally and physically. So, like, and then when you're in that exhausted state, how much are you actually going to try? Like, again, if we was to go back to the deadlift or whatever else, if you keep trying to pull that 180, all right, the first time you might have had like 90% of the weight or 95% of the weight. By the 10th time, you're going to be down like 50% of your strength or whatever else, because your body's just going to be so fatigued, so exhausted. So now, if you're talking about freaking life and you're trying to be successful in whatever aspect of life, if you keep just trying to pull that bar, well, you're not pulling with your best. So sometimes you do need to take a breath, freaking talk to a mate, freaking maybe have a drink or whatever it is. Just blow off some steam. Take your eye off the ball. Like I forget the actual freaking terminology for it, but it's a form of like observational bias where if you was to be painting something and you look at that thing for so long, the same color for an extended period of time, you go blind to it. So you have to look at something completely different in order to like reset your vision. You have to do the same with your goals. Sometimes you can look at your goals so hard and for so long that you just go blind to like the path or what the goal is. And you're like, why am I even doing this? It's like, well, no, you're going to social situations to meet more people. So maybe one day you'll meet the partner that you're going to spend your life with. But then if you're just constantly throwing yourself into new social situations, and you're just like, man, I don't even like these people. Why the hell am I here? You've done it so much, you're now fatigued. So now putting yourself in the right place at the right time, that's far more beneficial. And it's going to pay off far more on the back end than just kind of constantly regurgitating the same thing over and over and over again. And when you're kind of failing, I think that's where that idea of try again kind of does people a bit of a disservice. Because yeah, keep trying, but you've got to pace your tries. You've got to spread them out over time. Again, if you try to start a business every single week, you're going to go broke.
100%.
So if you get in a new relationship every single week, you're going to freaking catch something and it's not Phil's. Like, there's so many instances that trying, yeah, it is beneficial, but the more you fail and the faster you fail, sometimes it kind of, what's the word? It devalues the failure in itself. So like, again, to draw it back to PTing. If you was to be training a client or whatever else and they're going for a new PB and they failed it, you're like, okay, cool, we'll try again in 4 weeks. Not next week. We'll try again in 4 weeks. We'll let your freaking nervous system recover. We'll do some kind of supporting work and everything else. So next time you actually stand a better chance of getting that bar. Not just, we're going to try again tomorrow. But how many people give themselves that time to recalibrate, to find that clarity in life?
Yeah, that's true. But I mean, I guess you could also say that life doesn't really afford you the time. Everything's so kind of on the go, isn't it? Everything's so on the move. And it does feel like society is designed to just keep you moving at 110 miles an hour. But you feel like you're moving at 110 miles an hour, but what are you actually moving towards? And I don't think a lot of people probably know what they're moving towards anymore.
But then,
I mean, I've definitely been like that for a hot second.
Like obviously, on the last episode of when we was talking about like being overwhelmed by life and everything else, you raised the point about like life is so hectic sometimes. By the time you actually get a bit of rest or whatever, you just want to completely switch off and scroll on your phone and do some doom scrolling or whatever else. But I think that's the same thing that keeps you stuck in that loop.
I agree with that. I definitely agree with that.
Bro, we all have the same 24 hours in a day, but we use them vastly different.
But I think this is the thing. I think, in a weird way, I think a lot of us are overwhelmed by life. But not in a way that makes any damn sense. Like, I'm overwhelmed a bit at the moment, but just because there's actually a lot of big things going on that I'm trying to work towards, right? Juggling a career, juggling my content creation stuff, juggling business ideas in my head, juggling trying to find a place to live with my girlfriend. So there's a lot of big things there, and they're all positive, productive things. There's nothing there that I would categorize as a waste of my time. So fair, I could be overwhelmed by life. But how many of us don't have the stresses of a couple of those things, and actually we're just going about our day-to-day job, but still feel overwhelmed by life? And it's like, well, it's going to get worse. You have no idea, but it's going to get a whole heap worse when you actually start trying for something that you want, as opposed to just doing something, if that makes sense. Like, how much worse is it going to get when actually you do have a business idea, and then you've got to juggle your job, relationships, social life, with planning and executing a business, and then maintaining that business and everything else that's going to go on behind the scenes.
Do you know what's just kind of pops into my head? Do you remember the kind of 80s, 90s style parenting where a kid would cry over absolutely nothing and the parent would just turn around and be like, "Oi, I'll give you something to bloody cry about." It's like, at the minute, everybody's in society crying. Where realistically, there's nothing to cry about until life goes, alright, I'll give you a reason to cry. You want to cry wolf, you want to say life's horrible and da-da-da-da-da. Here's something to cry about. And something genuinely bad happens. And then you're like, oh damn, now you're wailing. Because there is something genuinely to cry about.
I think there's a lot of things to cry about in the world and in society in general, because the world's a bloody mess. But it's a weird parallel between how it affects you and how things can directly affect you. If that makes sense.
That's the thing. Yeah.
Like, the world makes me want to cry, bro. The world's mash up. Like, it's so bleak. All the things that are going on in the world do not make me feel happy. But I'm not directly, it's not like right here on my doorstep where I'm like, oh, god damn, like, they just got shot. I don't see that. So it's like, yes, I feel sad about the world, but I don't carry that day to day where I'm like, wow, life's bad. But the minute you get hit with something that is a failure, then all of a sudden the world's a mess. The world's a mess. So I didn't get what I want. Or I didn't get what I need. Or I got sacked or whatever. Like, when you get hit with a direct failure that is on you and it's affecting you, it hits so much harder.
I've just had like a kind of weird imagery kind of pop into my head of like, imagine trying to walk through a room with a glass of pure water, bashing freaking random like dirty water, random colours and everything else.
Ebola.
Yeah, freaking salmonella, freaking
rhinovirus.
There's
E. coli.
all of these different things where
fog.
You're
smog.
literally just trying to keep your water pure. And the moment a drop of contaminant gets in it, you're just like, oh, well, and you just dump it all in anyway and it make it so much worse. Like, yeah, there's a lot of bad out there in the world. There's going to always be a lot of bad out there in the world. But realistically, we can only each experience so much of the world at once.
True.
And if, like you said, if that's on your doorstep, fair play. Deal with it. I feel for you. You have my friggin' thoughts, prayers, whatever you want, freaking cool. But it's your reality. You have to deal with it. And more often than not, like that old saying of like, freaking hard times creates hard men create easy times creates weak men create hard times, and so on and so forth. Like, so many people, they literally have like, oh, society this, society that, and we live in fairly easy times, most of us, especially if you live in a first world country and freaking you earn freaking, well, and any job these days gives you somewhat of a livable freaking life. Do you know what I mean? Like, that, there's people out there carrying their babies on their back while they're digging through fucking cobalt mines and all of that stuff. So life could be a hell of a lot worse than it is for a lot of people. But so many people don't see that side of life. So many people are on the side of the consumers, not the friggin' producers. Like, bro, even to the forms of content creation, how many things are there behind the scenes where somebody that's consuming it just goes, ha, that's a funny video, and then swipes off? Where it's like, whoa. I spent hours planning that, prepping that, friggin' all of the things that go behind it, nobody will see. So all of the things that kind of go into life, all of the hard bits of life that you put in work to make sure they go off without a hitch, nobody sees it. They just go, oh, it's alright for some, innit? And we all have that thing. Like, sometimes it can be, life can look absolutely miserable, but then people can be having the best time because you find that sense of community. You find the value in the little things. Do you know what I mean? Like, people sitting around a fire singing. It's like, right, you ain't even got a TV. Yeah, but we've got people sitting around a fire singing. What's better, a TV or community? So, yeah, I'm not wishing bad on anybody, but what I'm saying is sometimes those diamonds are found in the rough. And when we're sitting going, oh, we have no time, we have this, everything's hustle and bustle. A freaking train comes every 3 minutes, but everybody gets on it like it's the last one in existence. Like, all again, like you said, it's society going there, the life. But then if you just don't watch the news, don't listen to the radio and all of that stuff, don't read the freaking newspaper, because again, that's a story that somebody's telling you. And why are they telling you that story? To sell that newspaper or to keep you engrossed in that thing. So what are the chances it's going to be contaminated? And if you're trying to keep your water pure, all of these contaminants ain't going to serve you well.
True.
There is a frigging thing in that where it's like too much kind of being outside of everything. You don't know what the hell is going on in the world, and that can do you a disservice. But you're kind of doomed if you do, doomed if you don't. So I'd rather be completely frigging oblivious to all of the frigging mainstream stuff. Don't get me wrong, if there's something genuinely urgent or whatever that you need to know, you should know it. But trying to filter through that stuff is absolutely ridiculous.
That's an absolute minefield, mate.
Like, I don't know if there is, but there should be out there a solely fact-based news freaking outlet where it is, no, we don't give you our opinions, we don't give you freaking our feelings or whatever else. We just like, this happened, this is the result, and this is the consequence. Carry on.
Yeah, I mean, problem with that is there's always opinion in things.
Yeah,
even in given facts, there's opinion.
But you know that old thing about opinions. It's just like buttholes. Everybody's got one, and most of them are full of poop. And that's the more friendly version of it. But everybody's going to have their 2 cents on an idea. When you realistically, it's not that deep. Most people ain't going to be affected. Like, there are awful things that happen all throughout the world. People die. People freaking get ill. People lose loved ones and this, that, and everything else. But most people ain't affected by that. Like, everybody knows somebody that's been through some traumatic stuff, but not every single person has had a traumatic existence themselves. And sometimes those people that have been through traumatic stuff, they're the best people going because they know that things can be so much worse. They know that this ain't the worst day of my life or I can take more or whatever else. Like, even with myself, when it comes to like pain or whatever, I grew up in a fair amount of pain with my eczema and being in bandages and all of that stuff. So if I'm in pain, I'm like, is this the worst I've ever been in? I've broken bones and all of that. So it's like, nah, you can take more, bro. Like, somebody said to me a few weeks back about cold plunging. And there's like, stop doing that. It's uncomfortable to watch. I'm like, no. That is your discomfort. For me, that discomfort is a mental battle that I love. That knowing that I can overcome something, that it's not as much as I can take. And that sense of failure sometimes is that same thing where it's like, yeah, cool. I can fail. I can fail harder because I'm going to sit down and I'm going to actually dissect why I failed and I'm going to freaking learn from it. So yeah, sometimes we do have to not fail fast, but fail with intention. Like, fail safely so you can pick up the pieces and jump back on the horse. But if you genuinely fail with intention and go, okay, cool, what can I learn from that? Like, bro, okay, say you took the business idea and you're like, okay, cool, I'm not going to start a business a week, but I'm going to try to start one business a year. And I'm genuinely going to research, and I'm going to do the due diligence, and I'm actually going to put the thought and effort behind it. And I'm going to spend the whole year focusing on one thing. If by the end of the year that fails, fair play. But I'm going to genuinely do that with intention. Take you, for example, with par progression when you've done your tournament. A year in the planning. If that would have all gone to poop in the friggin' end, fair play. But it went off and it was spectacular. Everybody friggin' loved it. People were happy. The course was happy. You was happy. All the content creators were happy. But it took time to plan it. It was stressful. There was a few things that friggin' failed along the way or whatever else. But you stuck with it for the extended period of time. If you'd have gone a week into that and gone, oh, I ain't had anybody really sign up, or, oh, I ain't even got 10% of my sign-ups, and gone, all right, on to the next idea, what could I do?
Yeah.
How would that have panned out?
True. Yeah, very true. I guess that's the question, like, how do you deal with failure? How do you deal with actually just failing at something?
I think it depends on the type of failure. So, and that's not to kind of like scapegoat it, but like some failures are going to be more detrimental than others. Do you know what I mean? Like, bro, if you just had a relationship fail, that's going to be different than a business failing or applying for jobs and that failing. So, I guess the biggest place I'd start is actually try to quantify the failure. If you can quantify why it's a failure, like on last episode you said about the 5 whys. Again, that's going to be something that you can transfer onto a fair few different things in life. So if you sit down and go, okay, cool, why do I deem this a failure, first of all? I.e., did we fall out of love, or did the freaking job not work out, or did the boss turn to be out a freaking twat, or freaking whatever it may be? First, find why it's a failure, and then start to unpack what you can learn from it. And so I used to have this thing of like, every job I had, I would try to take something that would outlast the job, i.e. I'd get tattoos, or I'd get my driving license, or a holiday. Something that is going to be like, okay, cool, it's not just going to work and da-da-da-da. So what can you actually unpack from the failure on the back end? Because then, is it really a failure? If by the end of it, you're actually, we had a few solid years together, or I was at that job for a couple of years, but I got a car out of it. I got a house out of it. I met the freaking love of my life, or whatever it may be. Genuinely sitting down and unpacking the positives of the failure, because there are always going to be positives of the failure. Like there's going to be negatives to a success. If you succeed in one area of life, well, guess what? It means that might have closed another door. So something else is going to fail. Like I have this thing that I used to say to people, that every hero is a villain in somebody else's story.
That's fair.
Bro, whether you want to look at the superhero side of things, freaking, bro, to Lex Luthor, Superman is a villain. Or if you want to look at a more simple freaking thing, the nerdy kid gets the pretty girl. Well, what about the freaking jock that wanted the pretty girl? And he's been working hard and freaking trying to do this, that, or whatever else. And now some nerds just swooped in and freaking stole the pretty girl in the like, everybody, you can flip that script whichever way, do you know what I mean? I think that was the interesting thing of like, when they done the Cobra Kai series of like the Karate Kid. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but just to go on a brief tangent. The Cobra Kai was always the bad guys, but then they flipped it into its own series and they turned out to be the good guys within their series. So depending on the story that you tell yourself, or the story that you tell others, or the things that you unpack from it, you can change whether something's going to be a positive or a negative. It's not just polarized. Do you know what I mean? So sitting down with your failure and going, do you know what? What are the good parts of this failure? All right, cool. I didn't get my PR, but guess what? I was damn close to it. I got the negative. I couldn't push it off of me, but I controlled it on its way down, and that's enough for today. And then you can unpack the next thing and the next thing and keep progressing from there. Not just going, oh, yeah, I failed. I have to try again, lick my wounds and get back up. But actually sitting down and unpacking it. I think that is going to be the kind of superpower, if you want, behind failing. Unpack it. Now you've given that failure intention. Before then, it's just failure.
I like that, actually. I think that's a nice way to sum it up, really. So I guess, like, for me, a lot of it falls back into that very cliched and classic phrase of, could always be worse. Because I genuinely think there's so much truth to it. Like, whenever something doesn't go quite right for me, at some point, in some amount of time, after I've reflected on it and deeped it and figured it all out, the answer is always the same. It can always be worse. I'm still alive. I could be dead. You know what I mean? I still have my mobility. I still have my body. Could be worse. Like, I have a lot of good, so it could be worse. And it sounds like I'm kind of dismissing things, but I'm not, because I think it's just genuinely true. I think, again, go by the 5 whys, right? But scale that to, okay, things are bad. But are they as bad as they possibly could be? High chance that's a no. So I think we can live another day. I think we can keep moving. I think we can get back on the horse. We just got to figure out how. And that's okay. Take some time. But chances are, it could always be worse. Until you're at that point where actually being dead would be better, I think you're going to be alright. If you're at that point, yeah, we're in a bad way, and probably beyond my advice, that's for sure, right? Because if we're better off in a different universe than we are in this one, that's above my pay grade. But genuinely, until we're at that point, we can keep going. Even if it ain't great, even if we don't like it, even if it feels rubbish, we can keep going.
I'm trying to think of like two main things. One, it made me remember a trip that I had of the psychedelic kind before. And the other one is like, what about the times when it couldn't be worse? So like, for me, probably especially of like recent history, the biggest kind of, oh hell no moment I've had is losing a parent. And it's like, well, damn, like, this is one of the worst things I've been through. And I've been through it twice, lost both of them. But the first time I was too young to actually quantify it. And the second time, life was so hectic at that time. It was like, I think I'm still reeling from it years later. Like, grief's one of those slow burn things. There's no genuine timescale on grief. But then, even with that thing, like, it could be worse. But the people that, like, a parent outliving a child is the natural order of the world, unfortunately. What about the parents that outlive their children? That is so much worse. And I genuinely thought about that during that time or whatever else. I had to remind myself, like, this is the natural order. As painful as it may be or whatever else, it is natural for a child to outlive their parent. It's the flip side of it that is so much worse.
Yeah.
And what do you do in those times?
God knows, man. God knows. That's why I said there's some things that are just above my pay grade.
But so I forget the guy's name. I'm so terrible with names. But I was listening to another podcast a few weeks back, and a guy was talking about he done a book about happiness, and he did lose a child. He lost a son, and he was talking about that and all that he learned from it and everything else. And the way he overcome it was by giving that loss value. So kind of like what I was saying earlier on about, like, you kind of unpack it for what it is or whatever else. But then he took the lessons from his son and he paid them forward onto life, which is kind of poetic, because, like, at my mum's funeral, which is way before I have ever heard this podcast or heard about this guy, I said that, like, I never had the chance to pay her back, but I'll pay it onto her granddaughter, do you know what I mean? My daughter. And give her everything that I could possibly give her. So sometimes even when the worst things happen, all you can do is find the value in it. Like, even if it couldn't be any worse at that time, there is going to be some value that you can find in it, as painful as it may be. And it might take you a few years to find that value. It might take you a lifetime to find that value. But it's not to say it's not there. Because if you don't look for that value, then it is just a loss. It is just a failure. Like, obviously, my mum's been gone for just over 4 years now. But I still talk about her fairly frequently. My daughter still recognises her, although she passed before she turned 1. My daughter still knows who her nan is. Do you know what I mean? Like, and all of those things are because I kept that spark alive. So even though I went through something that was traumatic and deeply saddening, because of how I've unpacked it, because I don't... So, like, obviously, you know, my dad died when I was 1, right? I grew up with a few stories about my dad, but it weren't daily dinner table chat. Do you know what I mean? Like, that. I guess a better example would be my dad's dad. So recently I've started to, like, ask my siblings and all of that, like, do you know anything about granddad, like dad's dad? And they've all gone, no. Like, to the point, don't even know the dude's name.
Oh, well.
Yeah. Now, I don't care if he was Jack the frickin' Ripper. I want to know, good or bad, who the guy was. Just as a friggin' puzzle piece to my own history, in a sense. Do you know what I mean? Like, but we've absolutely never known about the guy because nobody's taken the time to unpack that. So there is just a void of loss. So when you're talking about, like, failure or loss or any of those things, if you just go, okay, it is what it is, and you just accept the failure or accept the loss, then yeah, there isn't any value to it. But bro, even if it's kind of like, again, to tie back to, like, villains or whatever else, even if you see, like, villains, did you ever hear about, I think it was Pablo Escobar that burnt $1 million to keep his daughter warm? He just set it on fire. And he was like, yeah, she's cold. So he just set it on fire. Horrible guy, but he just burnt a stack of money that most people would kill for just to keep his daughter warm. Is that not a loving father? So are even evil people capable of great acts of kindness?
Well, yeah.
But again, even when your failure, your deepest, darkest failures, the things that you were most embarrassed about, they're going to be of value.
I guess that's the thing. It kind of answers the question, isn't it? If, what if it feels like it can't be worse? Well, then I guess the metaphor there would be the phoenix from the ashes, right? If it can't get worse, it can only get better.
But that's the thing.
It takes time to obviously understand that, depending on the severity of it, right? But at some point, we will all come to it, and we'll all figure it out, and hopefully.
God knows how many times I've regurgitated this line now, but the 50 Cent line of joy wouldn't feel so good if it wasn't for pain. But one thing needs a contrast. So if life is only ever negative, eventually the negative fizzles away and it just becomes life. If life is always good, eventually good fizzles away and it just becomes life. So you need to have those ups and downs. You need to have that contrast. So again, as much... Bro, imagine everything you've done went off perfectly without a hitch. You would take so much of life for granted. Bro, imagine the first house you viewed was the house of your dreams and it worked out friggin' perfectly or whatever else. You'd be like, all right, cool. Yeah, I got my house. Da, da, da. Whereas, how much more? Or even your partner. Imagine you was with the friggin' first person you was ever with or whatever else, compared to friggin' now. Now you know you've dated a few different people or whatever else. You know who your person is. And that's so much more than just picking one person and going, yeah, he'll do. Do you know what I mean? Like, so having that contrast in life in various degrees, having the failures mixed in with the successes and everything else. Like, bro, if anything, knowing that you failed at something should be a freaking kudos to you, because it means you tried something. And not just did you try something, you tried something that was potentially beyond yourself. So it's that whole essence of striving, which again is a freaking positive, because it means you're trying to be better. Like, bro, so even with myself, right, I'm trying to get a few of my addictions in order at the minute. And bro, I'm failing sometimes. But I always have that intention to get back on it. I'm like, all right, cool. How can I recalibrate? Bro, some freaking addictions are harder to give up than others. Like, especially for me, I'm a creature of routine and habit. So if it's like my monsters, for example, I'm used to having a monster in my cup holder when I'm driving. It's such a first world freaking problem thing or whatever else, but I'm conditioned to do it. So I have to knowingly and intentionally not have a monster when I'm driving. Because I'm used to having that drink in the cup holder and everything else. Could a bottle of water do or whatever? Yeah, but then I've got to unscrew the lid and it's not as convenient or whatever else. But again, it's about building new routines. I have to, if I fail the first time and just go, okay, cool, I'll just won't do it then. I'll just drink Monster every single day. Sponsor me. Every single day, day in and day out. But my liver's going to freaking hate me and freaking wither up and shrivel up and die. And then so am I. So mediating it and easing it off. And again, like, you're going to fall off over time, but it doesn't mean you give up. Like, it means you're striving to do something better. And my body is going to appreciate it when I actually freaking get all of my different addictions in freaking order and shit. And hopefully life is grateful for it. But if anything, I will feel better for it, because I will know of how much of a freaking mountain I've overcome. And to somebody else, they might be like, oh, Monster tastes like shit. Why'd you drink that? Like, okay, cool. That's your taste buds. That's not your addiction. I can't stand the taste of coffee. How the hell are some people addicted to that?
Coffee's so good.
But again, bro, some people love Marmite. Freaking get the hell away from me. Do you know what I mean? Like, everybody has their things. Bro, some people are freaking addicted to gambling. I'm like, why? Like, but for some people, that is their crux. That's their thing. That's how they get there. So everybody has that thing where they're just, it is their vice in life. Do you know what I mean? Like, that whole idea of Lent, giving up your vice and that. Like, people struggle with that stuff. Like, I listened to a podcast recently, quite ironically, if we're talking about addiction, freaking with Charlie Sheen.
Oh, yeah.
When he's recently had some documentaries come out and all of that. But delving into that kind of life and those kind of things is very interesting, because, again, it's the extremes. So you see, like, when somebody's given freaking all of the fame, all of the money, and all of the freaking chance and everything else, what they get away with and how life is and everything else. And sometimes when every door is just open for you, it just means you tumble down a hell of a lot faster. And that's the kind of thing of failure. Though that failure makes you appreciate it. Like I said a minute ago with the houses and the partners and everything else. Knowing that you've had a few shitty ones makes you appreciate the good ones even better.
Trust.
So even to tie it into the gym stuff, if every weight you picked up just flew up like a friggin' marshmallow, you'd be like, what's the point in working out? I can just go there and think. But that struggle makes it worth it. So I think the failure actually adds value to our lives. It doesn't take it away. But again, it's like we said at the beginning of this, that societal construct of, oh, society's going to shun me. Oh, and I think we're so much worse for that in the UK than countries like the US or whatever else, or not even just the US, but countries that are have a more positive societal kind of infrastructure in that sense. That better sense of community. Like, I obviously the UK does have their little communities and everything else, but I don't think they're as prevalent as they are elsewhere in the world. So having that sense of community where it's just like, okay, cool, like you can go to a bunch of people and be like, oh yeah, I failed at this or whatever else, and like, hey, here's my view on that and this, that, and they can help you unpack it. And like, hey, you're not a failure, you're not this, you're not that, or whatever. And you can actually understand it to a deeper level. Whereas doing that yourself, once you're exhausted from failing and you're feeling shit about yourself, that's a lot harder. That's the thing where I was saying about like failing every week. Don't do that. Like, not a big fail anyway. Because it takes you time to kind of mediate your mental freaking state, your freaking physical state. Like, after a freaking failure, you feel shit for a little while. And that's okay. But you need that time to kind of unpack stuff. You need a little bit of time to completely switch off from it, first of all, and just be like, okay, cool, just don't think about it. Again, this is me anyway. I need that time to disconnect and be like, yeah, let's just not think about the frigging failure or the fact that I've just hurt myself or frigging whatever it may be. And then after you've had like a day or two of that, you can be like, okay, cool, now I can look at it with fresh eyes. And I can be like, okay, cool, why didn't that work? Or why did this happen? Or why did that happen? But it's giving yourself that very precious time to actually unpack it and mediate it. But again, like you said, life's so hustle and bustle. Society is go, 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 go. For God's sake, today's bad thing in the news is going to be forgotten tomorrow. And there's going to be something else that's bad in the news. And that will happen every single day. So then if you're somebody that pays a lot of attention to the news, there's constantly going to be bad stuff for you to think about. And you're not going to have the time to think about your own bad stuff.
True.
Like so much of it is going to be blocking out the noise of life. Or not even the noise of life. The noise of society and the noise of just the background noise of the world. Because there's always going to be things going on. Like, we wouldn't be able to have this conversation with like proper continuity and everything else if there was a bunch of other conversations going on around us. Because whether we want to or not, we're going to pick up those conversations. And we do that through life. So when you're trying to unpack your own stuff and then, I don't know, Bob comes up to you and he's just like, oh, my missus cheated on me, or oh, I'm about to get fired, or whatever else. You're like, for God's sake, Bob, I don't want to think about your problems. I'm trying to think about my problems. Just go away.
God damn it, Bob.
Literally. But Bob the Bell. But there's so much where it's just like, if you listen to too much of the noise, you won't hear your own stuff. So you do sometimes need to shut yourself in a room, maybe padded, and just give yourself the time to unpack things.
Definitely.
That's probably the biggest thing I can say on failure, to be fair, is kind of give yourself the time to kind of relax and come down from the kind of low of it. Give yourself that 10 count to catch your breath. And then get the hell back up. Unpack it and go again. Because, like you said, you're not dead.
Literally.
So you can go again.
You can keep moving.
If anything else, that's the thing. You can keep going.
Oh, yes.
And should we wrap this bad boy up?
Yeah, boy.
That was a good old chat about failure, though, to be fair. And to be quite frank, I feel better about my failures at the minute.
I'm getting close to failing with my bladder at the moment, so.
Oh, sweet Jesus. Dave needs a pee-pee break. Right. On that note, the seed for this episode is going to be, think about your biggest failure in life. Genuinely, the biggest moment where you was like, damn it, I think I'd rather be dead. and try to unpack it. Try to see the value of it. Because if you can do that with the biggest failure in your life, for God's sake, I once jumped off a moving bus of school children into a lamppost. And I thought freaking life was going to be over. It didn't make it much, well, it was mentioned a few times or whatever, but it didn't actually change my life on the grand scheme of things. Like, it wasn't the most embarrassing thing I've done. I've done more embarrassing things since then. And there's so much more to life. So if you can actually unpack what you think is your most traumatic moment or your most failure of your biggest fail and find some value in it, the smaller fails are going to be a lot easier to unpack and kind of come to terms with. I think that's going to be the biggest kind of takeaway from this episode. Unpack it and see what you can actually learn from it. All the best. We'll catch you on the next one.